Good morning, everyone. It is literally 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here in Los Angeles. I was thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking about my morning political thought. And as you know, I plan on talking about Congress. But before I go into Congress, I briefly want to touch on something else. With the DNC, what I said yesterday was correct. They lied and lied and lied and lied and lied, talking about Joe Biden and how kind and how distinguished and all this other stuff he is. That if I don't know how people get distinguished out of certain things I've seen in videos where he's taking pictures with people, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not even going to go there. And another thing I want to touch on briefly is Cardi B. There was an interview done with Cardi B and Joe Biden. The interview was interesting. For Cardi B, I've seen what people have been saying about her. First of all, I'm an eclectic. I listen to everything. I listen to rap, I listen to country, I listen to opera, I listen to pop, I listen to rock, I listen to R&B, soul, gospel, jazz, you name it, I more than likely listen to it. So, and I do listen to Cardi B. As for her lyrics, yeah, they can be raunchy and lascivious. Is she well informed politically? No, she's not. She doesn't she doesn't know what she thinks she knows. She hasn't done the research. She hasn't even scratched the surface. If she had done her research, she would know that, as I have said before, this current president has done more for black people than previous presidents in his position. It's amazing when I hear people talk about the police. And the interesting thing is that I think it's 75 to 80% of African Americans are against defunding the police. But let's say they weren't. Let's say they weren't when it comes to that. All of these riots, all of this mayhem and havoc that has been happening mostly in Democrat run cities. The dirty secret that the media doesn't cover, and I have only heard it talked about by a black Republican senator, Tim Scott, who was also the black Republican senator that I brought up that brought the idea to Donald Trump, President Trump, about the opportunity zones. And President Trump lobbied on his behalf to get the black senator's idea into the bill to make sure it was in there instead of making up some excuse, as most politicians do. Oh, we tried, but we just couldn't do it. President Trump lobbied to get it in there. He called other senators, he called other people, representatives, and was like, hey, we need to get this passed. And opportunity zones came from a black senator from South Carolina, my stomping ground. So I just want people to know that. But what Tim Scott had said was true about police methods and procedures. There, the federal government did not have to intervene. Could the federal government intervene? To a certain degree. But any laws or changes to the methods and procedures of how police interact with people in cities, that could have been handled on a local and state level. I live in Los Angeles. The state of California is run by Democrats, period. Republicans don't really run anything here at all, especially not in Los Angeles. If Los Angeles wants to pass a state law, local or a local law, or if the state of California wants to pass a state law, they can do it. They can do whatever they want to. That's one reason why Uber and Lyft are possibly in the process of leaving, because of some crazy ass state law that the state of California has passed about changing 1099 people to regular employees, which could possibly put Uber and Lyft out of business. So Uber and Lyft is like, well, we'll just suspend driving in the state of California then. So local and state governments can pass their own laws. And to see all of these people up in arms saying, well, Trump didn't do anything and the federal government didn't do anything. The federal government didn't have to do anything. You live in a city, or more than likely in a state, that is controlled by Democrats. They could have done something years ago, but they didn't. Why? Because they don't care. They care now because it's an election issue, which is awfully convenient, but they don't care. And I wanted to make that clear for this, where they keep up with the DNC parading George Floyd's family. And yes, with the George Floyd situation, it was a horrible situation. Everybody agrees that that should not have happened. There were other things connected to that situation that adds a little more context as to what happened after some body cam footage was released. But even with that footage, that incident still should not have happened. Regardless, any methods and procedures concerning the police departments and how they interact with the public in cities and states, that could have been handled on a city and state level. The federal government didn't have to get involved at all. The people could have marched to City Hall or wherever and said, hey, you need to change the local and state laws. You need to do something about this. And they could have done it, especially California has proven that. California has passed so much stuff that it's almost impossible to have a business that is truly thriving in California. That is why a lot of people are leaving California. And by people also, I mean businesses too. A lot of businesses are leaving California because of all the regulations and laws. This isn't a federal thing. It's a state and local thing here in California. So if they have the ability to pass all of this stuff that handcuffs and puts weights on businesses, they could have done the same thing with their police departments too. So don't let them fool you into thinking that they don't have the ability to do something and they need the federal government to intervene. They don't. That's the dirty little secret. They don't, and they never did. It's a campaign issue for them. That's all it is. Now that I've gotten that little bit out of the way, for my morning political thought, I have been very fortunate to work the type of job that I work. Luckily, the job I work, because I work a full-time job and I run 2 YouTube channels, as some of you may know. At my job, I have unlimited paid vacation, meaning if I take a week off, if I take 2 weeks off, if I decide I need to go off on a sabbatical for a month to Israel or somewhere to retrace the steps of Jesus to give me the strength to deal with this dysfunctional government that we have right now, I'll still get paid. Do you know how much time I've taken off this year? The answer would be the same with or without the current world situation that's going on. I've taken less than a year or less than a week of vacation this year. And I have unlimited paid vacation. Congress decided to go on a recess. Okay, Congress decided to go on a recess. And anytime I hear recess, I think of elementary school, where they're like, okay, go outside, play, recess. That's what I think of. And when Congress went on recess originally, the House and the Senate, I honestly thought they were going to be gone for a week. I was like, oh, they'll be back next week to work on the bill because people are suffering right now. There's almost 20 million people with pending evictions. There are millions and millions of people who need money right now for the direct stimulus. They'll probably be back in a week. Then I researched a little bit and found out, no. They don't come back until after Labor Day, except Nancy Pelosi wants to come back over mailboxes, which over 10,000 mailboxes were removed during President Obama's administration. But these are minor details. I digress. But they want to come back for mailboxes. Okay, fine, whatever. But they still were planning on being on recess and vacation until after Labor Day. I'm not a rocket scientist. I don't claim to be. I usually average C's and B's in math. I had a D in Algebra 2. Very, very hard teacher. Miss Huggins, hard teacher. She didn't give partial credit, which for some reason my mother agreed with her. Miss Jordan, she gave partial credit. But I know enough about math to know that there's 31 days in August. They went on vacation, I believe it was around August 15th or so. That leaves 16 days. 15 plus 16 is 31. That's a little more than 2 weeks. But on top of that, I thought Labor Day was around the 2nd or the 3rd because I don't always look at the calendar. I thought Labor Day was around the 2nd or the 3rd. So I was like, oh, okay. I looked at the calendar. Labor Day is on the 7th of September. We are still in the month of August. They didn't say they were going on recess the 1st of September. They said they're going on recess the middle of August. So from the middle of August to coming back after Labor Day, which is the 7th of September, that is almost 4 weeks of not doing anything. But they still get paid. I guess they have unlimited paid vacation too. But the difference with Congress and let's say me is that usually they can write a lot of their stuff off. They can charge it to the government. You remember that time back a few years ago, it was kind of funny, when Nancy Pelosi and crew were going on some type of trip or something because it was a tit for tat type thing between her and President Trump. I forgot what the incident was, but she did something. So then President Trump grounded the plane or did something else where they couldn't take off and they were stuck at the airport and had to take the buses somewhere else and do something. But the trip they were going on was for like, I think 7 to 10 days, but it was a congressional trip, even though they were staying at luxury hotels and all this fine dining and everything else, but it was under the guise of being for Congress and for diplomatic purposes and everything. They weren't paying for that. The American taxpayer paid for that. And with Congress, it's sort of like staying at home with your parents. And don't get me wrong, Congress doesn't make a lot of money. They only make like low six figures a year. And even though they don't make a lot of money, when someone stays at home with their parents, if you make 40 grand a year, 40 grand isn't a lot of money. But if you make 40 grand a year and you stay at home with your parents where they pay for everything, 40 grand is a lot of money. So I hate when Congress gives this woe is me, everything's so expensive. You don't pay for anything. You can write stuff off and charge it under the guise of the government. And then I did some more research. The House of Representatives averages 150 to about 170 days in session. 150 to about 170. You can look this up over the past 10 years. I think the highest was 191. I'm doing this from memory. I don't have my laptop in front of me. But I believe it was like 191, 196, something like that. Regardless, let's just give them 200. Let's just give them 200. Now, again, I don't always look at the calendar, but I'm pretty sure there's 365 days in a year. So 365 minus 200, 165, that you're not working. Make it make sense. When Congress, the House, and the Senate can take off during what everyone is saying is a moment of hysteria for the world, and definitely a moment of hysteria for the United States for those who don't know how they're going to pay their bills, it lets you know what they truly think about you. And I'm not talking about just Democrats. I'm talking about Republicans too. I'm talking about everybody. If you are a member of the House or the Senate and you're on vacation right now, you're garbage. I don't care who you are. Because when you are a representative of the House or a senator, you're representing the people who elected you. But not only are you representing the people who elected you, you're representing their hopes, their dreams, their fears, their anxiety, their everything. Everything that they have, every emotion that they have that is connected to the United States government is placed on your shoulder. It's placed on your shoulders, on your back, when you go to Congress to do something to make their lives just a little bit easier. Now, I'm not saying that life should be easy breezy, because you have to be battle tested. Things happen in life to make you grow stronger, and comfort and growth are not friends. What I am saying is that the job of the people in the House of Representatives and the Senate and the President of the United States is to make government work better. My parents always told me, let your work speak for you. My question is, how can your work speak for you when you aren't at work? Congress not being at work speaks volumes. Congress taking off when people don't know how they will pay their bills speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. They don't have to pass a humongous bill. Not everything has to be huge. Not every bill has to be huge. You can piecemeal the bill. You can pass a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there. Find something you agree on and pass it. One thing that I would hope everyone in Congress, the House and the Senate agrees on is that there are Americans that need a direct stimulus. Pass that bill. Be done with it. Move it to the side. Then pick the next thing you agree on. Pass that bill. Be done with it. Move it to the side. And rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. This is not rocket science. And I know that some people from a shrewd political level would say, well, if I pass this and give them what they want, I lose my leverage, my negotiating leverage. Well, guess what? It's not about leverage at this time. The media, along with other people in our government, have said we're in the middle of a pandemic. Leverage shouldn't matter in the middle of a pandemic unless we're not in one. I paused for a second to let that marinate. So which is it? If we are in one, then leverage shouldn't matter right now. Helping the American people should matter right now. That's the only thing that should matter, really, any day you're working in government, is making government work for the American people. And it irritates me that Congress still gets paid when they don't do any work, when they take all of this time off. There are people who work 40, 50, 60, 70. My brother works sometimes 70 to 80 hours a week. My dad, before I was born, had 2 full-time jobs. My mother, when she was in college, had 2 part-time jobs. Everyone is working. The people that are still working are working. And before this craziness happened, they were really working. 40, 50, 60 hours a week. But Congress doesn't want to work. And as I said before, let your work speak for you. If you don't put in any work, what does that say about you? How can it speak for what you've done if you don't put in any work? And that's my message about Congress and their vacation and recess. I hope you enjoyed my morning political thought, the new supplement to the Purple Elephant Show, thepurpleelephantshow.com. The important links are in the details section. Thank you for watching. Be blessed.